All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. It is Sunday, April 9th. We got a bunch of games on today's MLB slate. We're gonna jump into each and every game. I got a pretty damn big smile on my face because look at how we fared last night. I mean, look at how we fared last night. We had one play that did not cash and 6 others that did. We had the Astros money line for plus money that didn't cash. Then we had the Cubs money line that cashes. Mets minus 1.5 on the run line for plus 130. Cash it. Then we had the Red Sox money line, and then this the big one, the Padres money line for plus 140. Cash that as well. Then we go and back it up with Nationals money line for plus money as well. And then we also hit the over in that game. I'll take a 6-1 night any day of the week. So very excited for that, guys. But we got a bunch of games to jump into today, and we are not cooling off, or at least we're gonna try not to cool off here. So go ahead, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button as well. Let's run up the likes on today's video for a 6-1 night last night with multiple plus money plays in the mix. That was absolutely awesome. But let's jump into today's games here. We got the Phillies taking on the Reds here. Phillies minus 200 money line at home. Total right now sitting at 8.5 runs. When they last played here, obviously this Philly team has gone up and down, but when they last played here, they did win, was it yesterday, 3-2. The Reds, that money does not look too bad. Plus 172 on the money line there. I don't think that, Walker on the mound for the Phillies is an absolute stud. It's not like Overton is either, but in terms of value here, I will say I'm going to lean towards Cincinnati plus the money on the road here on the money line. And then in terms of a total, I don't hate the under here at all. I think this one could stick, just like we saw yesterday, but could stick around 5, 6, 7 runs. Moving on, we got the Tigers taking on the Red Sox here. Cutter Crawford on the mound for the Sox. Boyd on the mound for the Tigers. Tigers right now underdogs on the road or at home here, plus 101 on the money line. Total at 8.5. And again, before we even get into it, this graphic was screenshotted a little while ago. Odds can change as they start talking about them based on the graphics. They're all relatively close, but I do want to kind of just let you guys know. Like in this graphic, Detroit's minus 103. Updated odds here, he's averaged, their average plus 101. So just keep that in mind, guys. But the leans and whatnot kind of all stay consistent. But yesterday, Red Sox win this one 14-5. I don't really see a world or a reason why they can't do that again. Again, only minus 111, even though obviously Crawford 0-1 in the season with a 15.75 ERA. I do think that that's a little worrisome if you are on the Red Sox side of things. But I still think Red Sox money line here at minus 111 is a decent value. In terms of a total, I'm looking at the over. Again, these are two pitchers that can definitely get banged around. And we saw the Red Sox cover this line. We've seen them cover this line with their offense alone multiple times this season. So I'm going to lean towards the Sox and the over. All right, Tampa Bay taking on Oakland here. Tampa Bay minus 290 at home here on the money line. Total right now sitting at 8 runs. Kaprelian on the mound for the Athletics and Rasmussen on the mound for the Rays. Yesterday when they played, Tampa Bay won 11-0. 11-0, which makes me obviously think Tampa Bay is the play here. But 290, 300 on the money line is not enough. So we will look at the run line. But right now, even Tampa Bay run line is minus 155 for that minus 1.5 run line. So that doesn't seem like it has too much value either. So it kind of spins my head in a puzzle and says, if we're going to sprinkle anything, we would look at probably Oakland plus 1.5 on the run line for plus 135 odds, but I can't really trust Oakland, so I don't have that big of a stance on either side of this game. What I don't mind, however, is going to be the over. We've seen Tampa Bay obviously do that yesterday, covering that themselves, but I do think that this is a game in which we could see Tampa Bay drop, 6 runs or so, and then Oakland maybe comes in with 3 of their own. Not a close game, but a decent amount of runs scored. All right, Baltimore taking on the Yankees here. Baltimore plus 130 at home on the money line. Total right now at 7.5. Baltimore loses that one yesterday. Yankees win 4-1. I do think you're all of a sudden, like I had said too, right? Like a couple games, you had the Yankees sort of, that money line value was there. They're minus 145 on the road money line right now, which is right on the brink of, I don't really love laying that much juice. That is going to be my lean. I think they are the better team. We did see them obviously struggle against the Phillies at one point. Then we did see Baltimore beat them in, was that game 1 of this series, I believe. So you know, the Yankees do have their downs, but I think that this is still a fair line or fair odds here at -105. So I'm going to lean that direction. In terms of a total, 7.5. I like this one over, but I think it's a very, very slight over. I don't think that becomes a final play. All right, moving on, we got the Pittsburgh Pirates taking on the Chicago White Sox. Pirates -114 on the money line at home. Total right now sitting at 9 runs. Yesterday, Pittsburgh loses this one. Chicago takes the win 11-5, but very similar to the first game, only flip it around. Pittsburgh had won that first game of the series 13-9, so it does make me look right at the over there. 10 runs can be scored in this game for sure. And then in terms of what we're looking at from I guess a lean for the money line or run line or side perspective, I do think Pittsburgh is probably the play here. I don't think that Chicago, based on what we've seen out of them this season, +107 on the money line on the road is not really tickling my fancy. It's not enough of a plus money play there for me to trust it. So I'm going to lean towards Pittsburgh money line and then the over. All right, moving on, we get the Mets taking on the Marlins here. Mets at home, -145. We called that game spot on yesterday. I loved them to come back and win in a big way. They did. We cashed that plus money play for Mets run line. And then in terms of a total right now, we do have this game at an 8.5 actually, so it's moved. So the graphic is a little off. Again, yesterday, Mets win this one 5-2. And they also won the first game of the series 9-3. So maybe the Mets are finding their stride a little bit. That was either the first or second game of the series. But Mets obviously have won now 3 in a row. 2 in a row. This would be the third, I guess. So I will say that the only thing I worry about the Mets is that inconsistency. Like, they've looked good now, 9 runs and 5 runs, right, in the first 2 games of this series. But then where is the consistency when they're going in 0 runs against Milwaukee, 0 runs against Milwaukee? In the first time they played Miami this season, right, they had a 0 or a 1-run game. The only thing that worries me is the inconsistency. So I don't think I can tempt fate or you know get too greedy and look at Mets run line again, because it is juicy. -1.5 for +143, but I can't do it. I can't get myself to pull the trigger. I am going to lean Mets money line here, but I don't totally love it. In terms of the total, it is at 8.5 now. I like the under. All right, Cleveland taking on Seattle here. Cleveland rather, +114 money line here at home. Total is sitting at 7.5 runs as of right now. Yesterday, Seattle wins the game 3-2. Game 1 of the series, they won 5-2. And in terms of, excuse me, I lost my notes here. In terms of the total, though, I do think that that's a little bit too high of a number. I'm going to lean towards the under. In terms of my lean, I think Seattle actually takes this one. I don't love the odds here, -124. I think that should be closer to even, but I'll take it anyways. I'm going to lean towards Seattle money line and the under. All right, Milwaukee taking on the Cardinals here. Brewers -152 on the money line here at home. Total sitting at 9 runs in this one. Last time they played was yesterday. St. Louis wins 6-0. So it's interesting that the books obviously think that Peralta on the mound for the Brewers today against Woodford on the mound for the Cardinals, that they have a way better spot, which they do. I think yesterday was a bit of an anomaly. I do think that this Brewers team can bounce back. Obviously, the game prior to last, they did win 4-0. So both teams have now shut the other team out, and I think it's the Brewers' turn. So I'm going to lean towards Brewers money line. -150 is a little bit too much to ask for here, so you know, that's really the thing that could keep me off of this game. I don't like Brewers money line, run line necessarily, because of how often could these two teams shut each other out, right? Like, there's gonna be runs scored on both sides, at least I would imagine, but it's not enough to keep me away from the under either. So I'm gonna lean towards the Milwaukee side of things, and then also the under. Keep an eye on the pin comment to see if that does become a final play. Houston taking on the Twins here. Houston -102 money line on the road is going to be our lean. They have not been impressive in this Twins team, who I truly, to be honest, didn't think anything of this Twins team, but they've been surprising as of late. They've won both games so far. Obviously, Houston was a loss for us yesterday. I'm looking for a little bit bounce back in this game. I'm also going to take a peek at the under. There's a chance for rain in this game as well. Whether or not that impacts the game or not, if it happens or not, we shall see. Meteorologist Ev here isn't always right about things, but I will say rain never equals overs, if you ask me. So I'm going to lean towards the under. And then again, I'm going to lean towards Houston again. I don't know if I make it a final play. We might have to, put them in timeout and see if they can win for us before making it a final play and bleeding money here, because this Houston team's been very, very inconsistent. But that's the way we're leaning. And again, I'm leaning towards the under there as well. All right, Chicago Cubs taking on the Rangers here. Cubs minus 105 here, money line at home. This is actually split. Both teams are minus 105 on the money line here, which is very interesting. Cubs 4-3 on the season. Rangers 4-4. Taylor on the mound for the Cubs, and John Gray on the mound for the Rangers. He's 0-1, but only a 2.84 ERA. Yesterday we cashed the Cubs money line. They won 10-3. Prior to that, they won 2-0. Again, I might be getting too greedy. I might be riding a team too hard here. Probably shouldn't have said that. Might be riding the team too hard here, but I do like Chicago money line again. The bats have not really gotten to the Cubs yet in this Texas series. Again, 0 runs and 3 runs scored. So I do think that this is a good spot for Chicago, and at least good value, minus 105. So I'm going to lean that direction. In terms of a total, I'm going to also look at the over. I think this one can get up to 9 runs, so I'm pretty comfortable with that. All right, the Rockies taking on the Nationals. Rockies minus 134 money line here at home. Feldner on the mound for the Rockies, and then Cole on the mound for the Nationals here. I wouldn't say the best of the pitching class, but we cashed yesterday. We had the over in this game for plus money. Then we had the Nationals for plus money as well, which we will certainly take. I don't know if the Nationals do it again, so I'm gonna lean Rockies minus 134 in this one. Total is 11.5 right now. Now I'm gonna have to go towards the under. They obviously hit the over 2 games in a row, double digits over, but now I'm gonna take a peek at the under. I think this one could stick a little bit lower than we have seen. Not much to note in terms of weather impacting that, but I will say obviously the altitude usually juices overs here, but I do think this one comes back down to earth. It was a game 1 of their series, if I'm not mistaken. Game 1 of their series was 1-0, and then we had a 5-10 and a 7-6 type game. So I do think that I think that this returns to how the kind of series started. All right, San Francisco hosting Kansas City here. San Francisco minus 160 on the money line at home. Total right now at 8.5 runs. I like the over in this game. I think a lot of runs are going to be scored, but in terms of a side, this is going to be another one where I think there's just true value in looking at the underdog. Kansas City has won both games this series. They were plus 175 and then plus 126. Right now, they're plus 143. I think you just got to trust a little bit of the hot hand here. Does San Francisco probably win? Yes, but you got to understand too, as a bettor, an analytical bettor too, sometimes there is consideration and value given to this team that may not be the most likely outcome, I guess you should say, most likely outcome, but it's likely enough that plus 143 could sort of be a little bit of a good shot at it. So whether or not that becomes a final play or not, we shall see, but I do want to kind of make that clear that, if you're hitting I would say this, if you're hitting plus 150 money line dogs all the time, you don't need to be a 54% better. Does that make sense? You need to be able to identify the spots where, if you cash one of every blank of those, you're going to be profitable. So that's why baseball is actually very cool. You don't really have that in the NBA. You don't have that in the NFL either. Hockey's very similar to this, but I feel like a puck can bounce anyway, makes it different. The thing that makes baseball unique is that spot where, okay, well, you feel like there's a money line dog here. It's a good spot. You can hit 1 out of every 3 of those, a 33% better, and potentially remain profitable depending on the odds. So I don't encourage that to anyone, but that is what I mean when I say, okay, well, I think it's worth considering Kansas City plus 143. They've won both games this series. They've looked pretty good. Can they do it again? Potentially. It's just a lean right now. Hopefully that makes sense and that's not a crazy ramble. Total is 8.5 right now. I'm looking at the over, like I said, in this game. All right, LA Angels taking on the Toronto Blue Jays. Angels minus 125 here at home. Total at 9.5 runs. Reason being for the total, we've seen plenty of runs scored from both these teams at different points this year. The thing that's going to keep me on the under is how inconsistently we've seen those runs. Just for every game that we've seen these teams score, double-digit runs, they also have a couple 2-run, 3-run, 1-run games in the mix from an offensive standpoint. So I'm going to lean towards the under in this one here. And then in terms of a side, I'm going to look at the Blue Jays here. Plus 116 money line. I think that they can get this job done and get us a little ching there in terms of an underdog. All right, Diamondbacks taking on the Dodgers. Dodgers minus 126 on the road here, money line, which is very, very rare to see. But Arizona seems to have the Dodgers number, right? So far this season, they've played now 7 times, and Arizona's won 4 times. So as good as this Dodgers team is, Arizona seems to have their number. I'm challenging that today. I think there's some good value there getting the Dodgers at -126 money line. So that is going to be the way that I'm leaning. And then surprisingly here, usually when we're seeing a total this high at 9.5, I would be considering the under, but I'm actually going to take a peek at the over. Then our last game of the slate, we have the Braves taking on the Padres. Braves right now -112 at home. Total is sitting at 9 runs. I'm going to be looking at the Braves. We did cash yesterday a big money line dog with the Padres, but I think the Braves bounced back in a decent way. I would even consider them -1.5 at +170. There's some serious value there, but I am going to take a peek at money line. And then in terms of a total, I like the under here as well. And that is going to wrap it up for today's video, guys. We've been red hot in the MLB. How long will it last? You know as well as I do. I know that we're putting a lot of work into this, and we love the picks that we're throwing out. So hopefully for a while, but I'll catch you guys in the next video. All right, peace out.